Hello everyone, I'm Jacob Kaufman, and today I'm talking to you about the first tech challenge. So my videos are slowing down once again, and this time my excuse is that it's robotics season. Right now the robotics team at my school, Oakville High School, is preparing to go to the first robotics competition, but last semester we were preparing for the first tech challenge. So we had two teams going to the FTC, and if you don't know, the first tech challenge is one tier lower than the full-fledged first robotics competition. So it's sort of like a junior competition that a lot of teams go to for practice before they compete in the FRC. We started making our robots probably in September, and we competed in the competition the first week of January. And it took a lot of smart people and a whole lot of work to get two robots at the competition. The first tech challenge game this year was called Cascade Effect. And what you had to do in the game with your robot was knock down some tubes to release a bunch of balls, pick the balls up, and then score them into goals of different sizes. You could also get points for rolling the goals around into certain scoring zones, and you get more points for doing things autonomously without using a remote control at all. Because I'm the lead programmer for the club, I was participating in both teams' robot design processes, and I did the programming for both robots as well. Team A's robot design used a combination of plywood and plexiglass. It was supposed to use a street sweeper design to pick up balls, and it was supposed to use a conveyor belt made out of a bike inner tube and some cut-up wire to lift balls up to the goals and drop them in. Now, if that all sounds a bit cobbled together to you, that's because it was, and it ended up not being finished on time. The day of the competition, that team just removed their entire pickup mechanism and rolled around on the floor, and they got some points just rolling around. Team B's design was a bit more practical. Team B also used a street sweeper pickup mechanism. We used a bunch of zip ties basically, and we held them together with duct tape to make them a bit stronger. We geared them up so that when we drove forward, the same motor that was moving the left wheel forward was also moving the entire street sweeper forward. Once the balls were inside the bot, we also had a conveyor belt lifting the balls up, but the conveyor belt was made out of some Vex tread material. I don't know exactly what it's called. You can look at the design process in much more detail at the club's website at oakvillerobotics.com. For now though, I want to focus on the actual competition. For the first half of the competition, I was going back and forth between both teams trying to make sure the programming and wiring was all set up correctly. But towards the end, I did get the chance to record a few games, so I'm going to show them to you now. So here's the first game I had the chance to record, and you can see the autonomous period just started here, and only one of the robots moved, and all it did was move off of the ramp. One thing I did notice about the FTC was none of the teams, or at least very, very few of the teams, seemed to actually care about autonomous. And I kind of get why, because our team initially planned on doing autonomous mode, but after we had so many problems with our design and build processes, we just didn't have time to implement autonomous. So I completely get that, but it did seem like there was a noticeable lack of autonomous modes in any of the robots at the competition. So you can see here the teleop period is about to start. This is Team A's robot, as well as three other robots that I don't know the teams for. And so now they're all moving around. Team A's robot is in the back there, 9612 I think the number is, but you can see one robot in the foreground trying to knock down those balls. Alright, our team's robot in the back just knocked down the red side's balls, and the blue team is still trying to knock down their balls. Now you can see some wheels just went onto the floor. Actually, I didn't notice that until after I was already reviewing the footage. I didn't notice it when I was recording this. But the robot all the way to the left on the screen actually had two of its wheels actually fall off, it looks like. And so yeah, that was interesting. 9072's robot there I think is going to score a point here in a minute. Yeah, you can see on the right there's a robot moving with a street sweeper made out of zip ties. And so yeah, now we're kind of slowing down a little bit. Our robot, 9612 right there in the back, is trying to get up that ramp, because if you end the game on a ramp, you get points. However, the robot was sitting too close to the ground to actually get up the ramp very well. And I don't know if there's going to be... Here we go. Alright, you just saw someone scored a point, I think. Maybe. I think that's all the action we're going to see in this round. So I'll go ahead and skip to the next one. Alright, so this time you can see two of the robots had autonomous modes. And they both went for the same goal, it looked like. And that's the one on the right was just getting off of the ramp. You can see they're actually... One of our robots did have autonomous, is the one I'm pointing at right now. Hopefully you can see the structure in the middle there is being lifted. We didn't actually move around during autonomous, but we did lift up that... we had linear bearings in the center of our robot that held up the conveyor belt. And the robot actually cannot move until that is all the way up, so we utilize the autonomous period to go ahead and lift that up before remote control even starts. And that way, by the time remote control starts, we don't have to lift it up for too much longer. So that's Team B's robot, in case that wasn't clear. So you can see the first thing our team's going to do is finish moving up their ramp. And as soon as it's up, there it is a little more. Alright, so just as somebody else released the balls on the red side, our team started moving our robot. So you can see that crazy contraption in the back on the right there. They had a really high-scoring robot, and they had... I don't even know how that works there with that tube thing on that robot. Even just looking at it in person, I did not understand how it worked. But you can see, I think they're about to drop a ball into that goal. Hopefully, because the tube is positioned, I'm kind of looking all over the screen. Yeah, there they go. You just saw a ball drop into that tube. So that's a point right there. And now that robot is pulling that tube around. You can see our bot, what they're trying to do is knock down the balls on the blue side. That's why we just keep hitting that pole. And there we go. We actually got it. And that would be the cascade effect that the game is named after. That red bot on the right side was... picking up a lot of balls and just throwing them. Now they're putting them into the short goal. So you can see the red team just scored a bunch of points. The blue team is trying to, on the left, they're trying to push that goal up onto the ramp because you get points for doing that. And so our team, I think, is about to attempt to park on the ramp behind that other robot. Yeah, 5561 is trying to... Alright, so our bot actually had servos on the back of it, and we programmed those servos to move down and lock onto that goal so it could drag the goal around and score points. Unfortunately, they did not work very well because we did not have a goal to test them with. So to actually use those servos on the back, we had to put the servos through little holes on the base of the goal. It couldn't just be pushing against the plastic on the goal. Alright, you can see both of the blue bots are in the ramp zone there. So we got points for that. You can see on the right side, the red team guy is looking at something on the red ramp to see if they got certain amount of points or not. So as you can see, there were some people standing in front of me this time. Sorry, I couldn't really do anything about it at the time. The FTC had a specific spot where you had to stand, and it was always on the same side of the field if you were a media person. That's why I took all of these videos from the same angle, is because there was a box on the ground I had to stand in. But yeah, you can see on the left there, a blue team robot scoring in autonomous mode. If that would have went in, it would have been a lot of points just for doing that, because that was not with the remote control, that was just programming. So you can see now they're all just waiting. Let me skip past autonomous here because you can't even see our bot anyway. And here we are, starting autonomous. Starting Teleab, sorry. So there goes the blue balls right away, and then we're on the red team. You still cannot see our robot, I know, and there's people walking in front of me. But you can see the blue team immediately just pushed one of their goals up onto the ramp, and now they're going for the other goal. So they were clearly trying to get points just by parking those goals on the ramp, because it was a whole lot easier to move the goals around than it was to actually score into them, as you can imagine. In case you're wondering, the robots are not allowed to touch the plastic clear part of the goals. They were only allowed to grasp them by the bottom colored parts. So here is the end of that match, and you can see our robot desperately trying to get to the parking zone to get like one or two, like it's an insanely small amount of points to end in the parking zone, but we did make it to the parking zone. Oh no, it was because we were holding on to that goal. So we got points for dragging that goal over into the parking zone, and that was the servos on the back dragging that along, like I told you about before. So now we've got the refs coming onto the field and making sure, and just in case you're wondering, that goal that we had sticking out of the parking zone did count. It just had to be within the parking zone box. It did not have to be completely contained within the box. So here's just a little walk around to the field after the game ended. I exited the designated media box just to give you guys some more angles of what the game looked like after it was over, of course. So you can see there's the ref still checking that out. I think we might get a quick shot of the field control system there. Yeah, you can see that. Here's just a super quick panoramic video I took just showing the pit area. So this was our view. This was where we were set up. We had 2 tables for our 2 teams to set up our robots, and you could quickly catch a glimpse of all the other teams there before the video cut off. This is just a quick panoramic video I took of the entire gym that we were in. We were in the Merrimack, St. Louis Community College Merrimack gym for this. I know those were really short videos, and we had a bunch of black screen between them. Sorry. I think this was the championship round for the whole thing. I'm pretty sure it was one of the finals rounds. Well, I know it was one of the finals rounds. I'm pretty sure it was the last one. So you can see there's that robot on the right side that keeps missing its goal in autonomous. And on the left side, one of the robots did successfully put a ball into a goal, and it moved the goal out of the way. Now it's going for the higher goal. That's pretty crazy autonomous there. I was zooming in digitally for this part, so that's why the camera is a little fuzzy. Sorry about that. So now the refs are going to take a look at all of the balls that have been scored because they have to tally up the points before we start tally-up. Everyone's picking up their controllers. And we will start. You can hear them counting off. And here we are in the remote control period. So I always like to get a video of the last round, or one of the last few rounds, because it's going to be the best robots there. You can see they knocked down both of those ball kickstands really quickly. Neither team had any issues doing that. So 7961 is, it looks like picking up balls and spinning them out the backside because they don't actually have a goal behind them. But then it looks like there's another robot trying to drag a goal over to them for that. Man, they would have scored points if there was a goal behind them. So 8403 just knocked over a goal. That's actually going to penalize them, I believe, if a goal is knocked over, unless they pick it back up. And they might actually go back and try and pick it up after this. So yeah, we've got, yeah, they're going and dragging the third goal up onto the ramp, and they are trying to pick up. You can see 8403 trying to pick up that goal that they tipped over, and they picked it up successfully. Fell over again, pretty intense, because that's the difference between getting points for having the goal on the ramp and losing points for knocking it over. So yeah, the robot on the right there might be having some issues, or they might just not know what to do at the moment. You can see there, 8403 just successfully picked that goal up. Oh, that red robot on the right is scoring into the center zone. You can see the hugely tall. There it goes. It scored 4 balls into the center goal. So that was a lot of points right there. And now they're parked in the parking zone. Oh, looks like they're exiting the parking zone, going for the ramp because they get more points for doing that. So both of the red teams are on the red ramp. One of the blue teams and all 3 of the blue goals are on the blue ramp. And we have one of the blue robots just made it to the parking zone before the game ended. So that was the championship. And here's a quick high-speed movement through the next 2 minutes. They really were operating pretty slowly, especially when there was only one game going on at a time, because they wanted to make sure they got all of the scoring correct and everything. So yeah, you can see the judges go on the field and talk about every single ball that's been scored or placed before releasing the teams onto their field to retrieve their robots and return to their pit areas, which you can see in the background. Now, last year, I did a video on the Vex Robotics competition, and I talked about how The FRC, the first robotics competition, the top level competition for high schools to compete in, was really a great experience that used industrial parts and programming and everything. And I talked about how VEX was kind of more geared toward educational use. It didn't really teach so many real-world technical things, but it did teach, design process and things like that. The FTC was kind of the same way. I would certainly say that the first tech challenge is comparable with the VEX robotics competition. The robots are around the same size, the fields are around the same size. I think the FTC has a much bigger following in the community, so it might look a little stronger because there are a lot more schools competing in it than in VEX. One thing I thought I would share, our team last year was really disappointed with the poor quality of VEX parts, and we were excited for the FTC because the FTC lets you use whatever parts you want, whereas the VEX robotics competition only lets you use VEX parts. Well, in the FTC this year, we actually ended up using a whole lot of VEX parts just because we had them left over from last year. And VEX parts always fit together. They don't fit like third-party stuff, but if you get a couple of VEX parts, they will go together, whereas Tetrix parts were a little bit more difficult to connect together to build things out of other than the pre-made templates that they had set up. And like I said, we only got one starting kit of Tetrix metal for the FTC, whereas last year our school purchased a whole bunch of VEX parts and metal and gears and everything for the VEX competition and also for some robotics classes that we offer now. So yeah, the FTC definitely does something differently than both VEX and the FRC, and that is the FTC awards points based on your design process and your engineering notebook in addition to the actual scoring on the field. In the FRC, I've competed in it for 1 year, the school's competed in it for 2 years, this will be our 3rd year this year. The FRC, you go to the field and you compete with your robot, and the points that you score are the points that you get. And from what I understand, it's sort of the same way with VEX. I haven't actually been to an official VEX competition. Last year, our school hosted an unofficial competition. But with the FTC, in addition to the points you get on the field, you also get points from a judging panel that you attend. And you give this presentation to a few judges, and you talk about what your initial design ideas were. Well, first you talk about like how your team operates, what your business plan is, where you're getting your money. Then you talk about how you started with your design and the different stages you went through in your design and how you ended up at the robot that you're at now. I'm actually pretty proud of the robot that Team B made for our school. And our team was actually nominated. It was the 3rd place nominee for the Innovate Award. I think it was the Roxwell Collins Innovate Award. And that award is based solely on the judging presentation. So I think that Brian Pohl he basically set up the presentation for that team. And he did a very good job with it. We had a really great presentation, and the judges were that close to giving us that award that would have let us go on to the state competition automatically. So yeah, compared to the VEX competition, I wouldn't say the FTC is much better. It might be a little better because there's a little more hype about it, and you do get that judging panel that takes a look at the process behind your bot and not just the finished product. If those things don't matter to you so much, then I think the VEX competition is just as good. Their bots and their games and everything are just as good. The robots are the same size, the field is the same size, the games are about the same difficulty. So yeah, that's about all I wanted to talk about with the FTC. In case you're wondering, I did use LabVIEW for the programming because it was free. I really wanted to use Robot-C because I used that for the VEX competition last year. Actually, I used EasyC for the competition, but I did Robot-C in class last year. So I wanted to use Robot-C, but we didn't own it anymore, and we didn't have enough money to pay for it at the time. So yeah, I used LabVIEW, which it's easy to do simple things in LabVIEW, but it's hard to do complicated things. So yeah, I'm not a fan of LabVIEW, and it also didn't help that I was on a super slow school computer. In my freshman year, we had a really nice laptop for the robotics team, but this year we have to use the one-to-one laptops that I've done a video on in the past as well. But yeah, now all of the FTC stuff is said and done. We will be having an unofficial FTC competition later in the season, and hopefully, that is, we're not 100% sure about it, but we're pretty sure we're going to try and do that. So I'll post a video about that if that ends up happening. Otherwise, if you want to stay updated with the Oakville High School robotics team, you can go to oakvillerobotics.com. That is our website, I manage it, and you can see pictures and videos about what we're doing. And like I said, now we are preparing for the FRC, and that is the big robot on the big field, and it's in a big arena. And yeah, that's gonna be a lot of fun. But that's out of the scope of this video, so for now I will let you guys go. I'm Jacob Kaufman, I'm the Nerd on the Street, and I will see you guys later. See ya.